Hey everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comedian and host of Bachelor Recap, a guy's review. As you can see from the title of this video and this beautiful thumbnail, we will be discussing Bryan's comments following his wife, Rachel Lindsay's, interview with Chris Harrison. If none of this makes sense to you, go back about 10 videos and start watching, because it has been a crazy 4 or 5 days or a week or so, or 6 weeks, or the last year. Since the start of the pandemic, it has been a wild time for Bachelor Nation. Lot in the news here. Of course, Rachel Lindsay had an interview with Chris Harrison regarding Rachel Kirkconnell, a current contestant on The Bachelor, and discussing race relations and the allegations that she's got a racist past. And in the interview with Chris Harrison, Rachel Lindsay was interrupted. She was talked at. And go watch that interview on Extra TV. It's always important to go to the source, watch the 13-minute interview, make whatever conclusions you guys have, and then hear other people's opinions about it that were part of it. Of course, Rachel Lindsay, as a host for Extra TV, just this year got a full-time hosting gig, talks to one of her bosses, Chris Harrison. Of course, he's connected very tightly to the Bachelor franchise. So she has to sort of play the role as host for a TV show, Extra TV, and also talk to her boss at the same time, so couldn't quite share all of her opinions. Then afterwards, as this interview went viral for everyone saying, "Whoa, too far, what are you doing, Chris Harrison?" Everyone in Bachelor Nation took a stance to this. Rachel Lindsay then afterwards had spoke with Van Lathan on her podcast, Higher Learning, and they discussed the actual reaction to how it felt, what she could physically say on air versus how she felt on the inside. This is the first time we're going to be hearing from her husband, who I haven't heard speak since they got engaged, but happy couple here. They have a long distance relationship, as I believe she's taken her job out in Los Angeles and he's in Miami. Correct me if I'm wrong, but hey, that could be great for a relationship sometimes. You get a couple introverts, they just Skype each other once a week, they're good to go. But anyway, he spoke with Mike Johnson here on a podcast, and I'm going to play the full clip and then we'll discuss it afterwards. So here's their conversation, and let's get right into it.
I was very disappointed. Chris Harrison is someone that I respected highly, and not going to lie, I definitely lost respect for him after watching that interview. I thought what he said was irresponsible, it was hurtful, and it was just flat out unacceptable. Now, we're not talking about past contestants of the show who pretty much come and go, right? We're talking about the face of this franchise, 20 plus years of this man being on our television screens on a show that's been needing a diversity makeover for years. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. And it's a show where we thought they had finally started turning the corner with obviously the selection of my wife as the first female lead of color. And obviously, quite frankly, they missed the opportunity with you, my man. Not picking you, but that's another story altogether. And then 2020 happens, right? And there's this mad scramble to finally get it right, which may have been a knee-jerk reaction, so to speak.
It was a very opportunistic reaction.
Yeah, it was, to be quite honest, it was a knee-jerk reaction. And, we then saw Tayshia become the Bachelorette, and then finally we see our first male lead of color in Matt James. And it's like, okay, they recognized it, and they're working on the diversity, albeit better late than never, but they're working on it nonetheless, right? So it's like, you got to start somewhere. And then it's like, Chris comes out and says this, and to me, it just made me wonder, damn, is this how everybody at the top feels? And I mean,
that's the sad part.
I hope that it isn't the case, but it's this, like you said, is the figurehead. Is this the sentiment that we're trying to overcome still in 2021? And it's like, I don't know. You tell me, Chris, because you said it with your whole chest in that interview.
Yeah, Bryan, bro, how do you feel about, your wife, your best friend, Rachel Lindsay, and her talk with Chris Harrison?
I mean, I was appalled just like everybody else. She sent me the video right away. And like you said in your story, I was like 2 minutes in and my mouth was open. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, like what is going on? And that's not even detailing everything else that came on, the rest of the 14 minutes or whatever it was. But
you got to watch the first two.
yeah. But yeah, it didn't feel good watching my wife, sit up there and get disrespected like that. And I want to give a shout out to my wife, Rachel Lindsay Abasolo, for showing so much strength, so much composure and professionalism during that interview. I mean, going back to that interview, like what struck me the most was that she was asked a question, disrespectfully, I might add. Mm-hmm. Who the hell are you?
Yeah. God, that's direct. Those are quotes.
The hell are you? Well, I'll tell you who she is, Chris. She's Rachel motherfucking Lindsay. Strong black woman, a pioneer in this franchise, the realest Bachelorette who tells it like it is, and quite frankly, the best thing to ever happen to this franchise. That's who she is. So that's what I have to say about that. I mean, that's what upset me the most. It's like, and you could see how he quickly corrected that. He's like, who am I?
Who's Chris Harrison? Yeah.
Nah, bro, nah.
He clicked in his head. He was like,
you
who's
said
Chris
that
Harrison?
maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's like, bro, you're talking to a person that's affected by it and you're asking her who she is?
Yeah.
It's like, come on. I was very disappointed. Chris Harrison is someone that...
All right, that's back to the beginning. Very interesting stuff right here. Very interesting. We'll go back to this lead image here. Who the hell are you? It's great to hear a man so defiantly stick up for his lady like that. I mean, you wouldn't expect it any other way, but I honestly didn't expect a comment from him publicly because I just don't hear much from him in the Bachelor world. He was a poster child contestant who found love, stayed with his career, whatever else you want to think about him. Very interesting. He says it was irresponsible, hurtful, and unacceptable. Mentioned 20 plus years of Chris Harrison on our TVs, and this is still the type of conversation that's happening. They obviously talked about diversity training being needed, but they already had a diversity consultant. Look, it's not something, and maybe this is what we learned from this all, amongst other things. But I would assume you don't just get a participation trophy for going to a diversity training. It's an ongoing discussion, and it's something that needs to keep on happening. And maybe they took their foot off the gas with this all and didn't get to that next level. Because it's one thing, equality is something that we strive for. We've strived for it in our country since the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. Happy President's Day. But we have been far from equality for far too long. We talk about it in past videos. The right to vote, equal representation, pay disparity. Equality and equity of opportunity is something we strive for, but it's not quite there, especially on the franchise. And with the franchise, the reason it's so highly talked about is because the franchise is more than just smut reality TV. It's a reflection of where we are as a country. It's a reflection of who we want to be and where we fall short. And that's what this conversation's all about. They mentioned 2020 was a mad scramble to get it right. Of course, we're talking about the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. A knee-jerk reaction. Mike says it's opportunistic. It was opportunistic for The Bachelor to be like, you know what, Matt James, I know you were going to be a contestant on Claire's season, but let's just bump you right up to the lead. Let's get you in there. Would they have ever done that before this? No, I think it worked out really well. I think Matt James is good. Does he find love? We'll have to wait and see. Regardless of whether he finds love, I think he was a good representation of what you would want out of a Bachelor. And we're learning that it doesn't have to be a Ben Higgins type or a Peter Weber type. And maybe some years it is. Maybe some years it's just a boring flight, boring pilot, or a guy from, some Cornhusker state. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe there's years there that it's more diverse. And at the very least, if you obviously can't check every box as the lead of the show, but you can check every box that represents our country in the demographic of the contestants of the show. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Very interesting for Bryan to talk so strongly and passionately about his wife, saying she's the realest bachelorette who tells it like it is. And at the very least, we can all agree with that. I know a lot of people would rather go, oh, she's just ruffles feathers, or oh, she's all about the drama. Well, maybe she's, too often we get people on the show. I'm not going to blame Tayshia for this. It's not my place to decide who becomes an advocate for X, Y, or Z or what, but we obviously have seen, and she's talked about it, so I'm not putting in words in anyone's mouth. We've seen someone like Tayshia who's uncomfortable having these types of conversations. She's just not there yet. She's a people pleaser. I certainly am. I hate having conversations that ruffle feathers. I want everyone to get along. I'm a big kumbaya guy, but that doesn't always get us to where we need to be. Rachel, Lindsay, it's the prosecutor, the lawyer in her. I can't speak this morning. Like the prosecutor in her that's willing to look at an injustice and poke at it and say, this is wrong. So when Chris Harrison says, who the hell are you? And when she goes, well, who the hell are you? It's one of those, pissing matches that while it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Could you imagine it going any other way? That's why Rachel Lindsay is attached to the show. It would be such a shame if she does leave the show, because I personally think having her there provides a really good dimension to what the show is, and having someone so publicly able to call them out, because you have to know a lot of contestants, they can't make fun of the show. They're not big enough. You need to be too big to fail. Rachel Lindsay's too big to fail. But they can silence us, lower end contestants all day long, as they've been known to do. This has happened with or without NDA contracts. They're still gonna, have the ability to blackball you from a network, and that's a scary thing when people are talking about their livelihood. So there's the question of people who don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want to bite the hand that feeds. And then there's the people speaking truth to power, and that's Rachel Lindsay. It looks like Bryan has himself a catch. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Tonight, 10 p.m. Pacific time is my after the episode live stream. Of course, we'll be discussing these topics along with everything that happens on week 7 of The Bachelor. So you can click the link to that. I'll put a link in the description for the 10 p.m. Live stream. I take voicemails. You can call the voicemail. Let me know what you guys think. And more videos coming. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye, everyone.